Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video today I live China formed an empire in 2025. Now this is extremely unlikely, but first thing they do is, well, they invade into Bhutan and annex them into their core territory. Now this could go over to Tibet, but I don't think China would want that to make Tibet larger, because that could spread into this Bhutan. So they'll just keep the provinces of Bhutan like they are. So yeah. So these provinces will stay the same, meaning that they just get annexed. Yeah. The next target will be Nepal. India's kind of worried about this because they're expanding their borders like a lot. So they send their forces into Nepal. The Himalayas are all in Nepal, but Nepal is pretty weak. China knows a lot about mountains. They completely annex them. Oh, not India. No, that's later. So India is now worried that they might be next, so they call the U.S. to declare war on China. The U.S. does not want to ruin relations with their trading partner. So they'll say, no, we can't. If we declare war on China, they'll stop trading with us. They're our number one trading partners, so we can't. Sorry. India's mad, but what can they do? U.S. can't stop trading with China, or else they'll stop trading. So India's along. Because, well, South Korea and China form an alliance. They both invade North Korea together. China goes in from the north. South Korea comes in from the south. They meet up at Pyongyang. And North Korea is divided up. Let's look at this peace treaty between the two countries. Let's look at the Treaty of Pyongyang. So in this peace treaty, South Korea gets a little bit, and China gets the rest. But yeah. Yeah, so now there's a new alliance. We'll not include that yet. We'll show it when it's really necessary, but they invaded them together, so they are aligned. Now Russia's mad about that, because why did you invade North Korea? They're your ally. China says, not anymore, they're not, because we are going to sever ties with them soon, so we might as well invade them now. So that's what they do. Russia said, fine, have at it. You just severed ties with us. I know. Let's get the alliance line color. Let's get this color here. Use this color for South Korea. So yeah, now the Korean Peninsula is under two countries still, but now there's only one Korea. So the provinces that the Chinese took go over to them. So now let's see what happens next. We see Afghanistan, we see Pakistan get invaded by China and Afghanistan, but not India. But India will third party this, so and China will start invading into their Kashmir region of Pakistan. Well, Afghanistan will invade this area. India comes in as a third party and starts invading in the coastal areas. That's all they are worrying about. Now, China and Afghanistan are like, bro, really? India doesn't care because they're gonna get the land anyway. They're gonna take all this land anyway, cutting off Pakistan from their coast. Which kind of helps the Afghans and Chinese. And now they'll just start invading into this area, get more. Probably already took Islamabad. India continues their invasion up into the north of their area, into Pakistan. And they'll keep invading into this area. Now the Afghans and Chinese will send their forces down south, meeting up with the Indians, cutting them off from any our expansion. Now India's mad about this, but you invaded them because you were trying to get more land. So let's look at the peace treaty of Islam. Let's look at the Treaty of Islamabad. Alright, in this peace treaty, India will get this land, as that's what they invaded to. Afghanistan will get this land up to this point over here. And China will get this land and form a puppet government in Islamabad. And if that, China, South Korea, and Afghanistan are allies. So is their puppet government allies with them because they're a puppet. Let's put that right there. China's happy with this. They invaded their ally, but now their border with India looks a little bit weird. But they're not worried though, because that's what they get. Obviously, China will get this. Wait, no, that's the puppet area. Afghanistan will get this area. China knows not to invade into Afghanistan, so they form an alliance with them. Now we can get our first puppet state of this video. So now, where does China go from here? Well, I think they want to go to war with one of their communist, one of their neighbors who's also communist. He sent some dummies, some regular troops into Vietnam as a distraction, which actually goes pretty well. This distraction goes well because Vietnam pushed these guys back out. Thinking that they won. In reality, those were just a distraction because the actual trained forces in Vietnam, the Vietnamese jungles, will start coming in from the south. And now the troops that were dummies, the distraction troops were just going in as a distraction just to help those troops in the south to get there, and now they're invading again, but this time they're more equipped to go into the jungle. So yeah, this is pretty interesting. Because who knew this would actually happen? And yeah, Vietnam is gonna... Let's look at the Treaty of Hanoi. I think that's the capital. I forget. Let me look at Google Earth, because I really need to remember the capitals. I really should know the capitals of countries. Yeah, it's Hanoi. It's more closer to the Chinese border than I thought. Huh. Who knew that? I guess that was the capital of the north. Well, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, China will split them along over here. Annexing and making a puppet out of the south. Annexing the north and making a puppet out of the southern region of Vietnam. So now we have another puppet government set up. Go put that right there. China has really expanded their borders. But yeah, with that, let's look at that peace treaty over here. Let's just color in Vietnam for simplicity reasons. Not Vanuatu, I said Vietnam. Then we could get the color of the puppet state and do it like right over here. And yeah, now we have China making their empire great. Now comes the real test. Do they invade India? No, not yet. They asked the U.S. for Taiwan, which the U.S. has to agree, so Taiwan is going to get annexed into them. Because they really did not want to go to war with China over Taiwan. So they had to agree with them. TW, what? Not seeing a W. There it is. Yeah, so Taiwan is now part of the Chinese Empire. Now who else is? Mongolia. For some reason, they had to make Russia give up Mongolia. That's why Mongolia is now part of China. If I can find them. There we go. So yeah, China annexed Taiwan and Mongolia. I was about to say Moldova. Moldova's not even in this area. Wow, this is looking more like the Qing Dynasty now. But with a bit more land than it originally had. Oh, okay. It just said to India, give us your northern land, and we won't, and we won't, and also give us Bangladesh, and we won't invade you. They will agree. And they also had to give they had to give up some land to the puppet state, which is just the rest of Pakistan. So let's just erase this area over here. You can just erase the border, Pakistan and India. Wait, actually, there we go. There we go. Now the puppet state has all Pakistan. India will give the land that China asked for. Actually, Daniel let India take the rest of Bangladesh. Now the Chinese Empire has one last target over here. I wonder if they'll get help for it. Yeah, India had to agree to this ultimatum because they did not want to get invaded by such a strong country. Well, they're strong too, but not as strong as China. So, plus the U.S. wouldn't help them. As you can see, India has lost a lot of their land, including Bangladesh. Actually, India could keep this area over here. But they'll have to lose their original capital. So they'll move it to Goa for some reason. Actually, never mind. Yeah, yeah. Actually, they will get all of Bangladesh because it will look weird. Nope, India, you are not allowed to have Bangladesh here. China will just take the rest. India will have to agree. Now India looks a little crippled. But at least the puppet state got the rest of Pakistan. So let's look at what will happen next. So we all know Russia is having trouble with Ukraine. So China goes over. So Xi Jinping, who is the leader of China right now, asks Kazakhstan if they can go through their territory. So they say yes. So Xi Jinping is going on a road through Kazakhstan, into Uzbekistan, and Turkmenistan, and into Iran. Actually, no, not into Iran. They go on a boat. They sail to Azerbaijan, Georgia. They go on another boat and land in Crimea and go up into Kiev. It's not on this map. And they make an agreement with Zelensky. We'll help you defeat Russia on one condition. You become allies with us. Zelensky will agree. So they'll leave. They'll go back to Georgia and they'll do the same thing. They'll leave. They'll go into Azerbaijan, say the same thing. They go to Kazakhstan, say the same thing, which they'll agree. And yeah, now there's a whole front over here. Now there's a large front line for Russia to deal with. They have a large front line to deal with because China is very close to your border. There's the front lines. So we see Ukraine invade from over here, taking all this area for themselves. Russia was already over here, so they will hold out on their own. Now, these two Caucasian countries will invade into this area. Meeting up with the Ukrainians, cutting off Russia from the Black Sea. Kazakhstan will push in, meeting up with the Caucasians. And now they'll push in from their territory. Now Russia's pretty weak because they lost access to some valuable regions. This area right here is pretty valuable for Russia. Now China makes an agreement with Japan. They can invade into Russia too. So Japan agrees. Japan invades into Sakhalin. Russia's like, bruh. China went, and now they invade over here. Fully capturing this part of Russia that is the Kamchatka Republic in Russia, or Oblast, whatever. I forget what it's called. But now, both China, actually Sakhalin is, So now Japan and China are helping each other out. Who knew that would happen in this scenario? Japanese forces help China invade over here. And yeah, Russia's falling already. Now we see Russia go over to Ukraine and all their allies, saying peace. Everyone says sure. So you can see a peace treaty being drawn up between all of them. In this peace treaty, Russia is getting pretty smacked around. So first, let's go over here to where Chechnya is, I think. Chechnya borders Georgia. So they'll be released, and they're allowed to have, like, all of it. Dagestan in Russia. Azerbaijan is funding them. Georgia will take all this area. Ukraine will take this area. Kazakhstan will take this area over here in Russia. Because that's where their front lines were. Let me just get rid of this line. And China will get a lot of land, specifically over here. And Japan will get Sakhalin in this area over here. Now let's look at the borders. The U.S. is laughing at Russia because they lost to a lot of countries, which they could have won against. And Russia's like, it was a lot of countries. I could have won against Ukraine if they were alone. I could have won against Georgia if they were alone. I could have won against Azerbaijan if they were alone. I could have won against if they were alone. I could have won against China if they were alone, and Japan if they were alone. But they worked together. And the U.S. still laughs at them for losing a war that they could have won. And they give China a high five for defeating Russia. And they become allies. And NATO lets China into the alliance in case Russia tries to attack Ukraine, who's also now in NATO. And Chechnya and Georgia are now in NATO, so is Azerbaijan. And for some reason, Armenia was allowed to join. That was just fake. It's not real, but it would be interesting to see that happen. Yeah, so Russia lost a war that they couldn't win anyway. Let me just color in Japan. Over here we go. They also take the Kuril Islands, which are a part of Sakhalin. Now let's color in Ukraine over here. They also did annex Kursk. Now let's color in Georgia. Forgot a land. Color in Azerbaijan, who's just allied. Who's an ally, but not really getting any land. Oh, let's get a color for Chechnya. We'll make them green. We'll make them another red over here. So obviously they take what they are and get Dagestan. Let's use another color over here for Kazakhstan. Color. They get what they got. Which is all of this. they will get the rest in this area. In this treaty. And yeah, let's put in the alliances. Well, as you can see, boom, back, boop, 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 and boop. Now, I'll see you guys in the next Empire.